Thanks for being there. Appreciate it, Pablo. We really
Yeah,
appreciate
right
you
on,
guys doing
Here
your
you
thing.
go.
Oh, this? Yeah, sure. Okay. Oh, hey guys, how are you?
How we doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. I'll take the hat off. It's getting kind of warm anyway.
I was going to say, it looked really good.
Oh, thank you.
So my name's Kyle Seraphin. I run a podcast that goes nationally. We're on Twitter right now. We're on Rumble Live.
Great.
And my connection to New Mexico is I was stationed in the Air Force at Kirtland for a little while. I was an FBI agent in Las Cruces. I got a lot of love for the state. I got a lot of love for Albuquerque in particular, but I know it's on some pretty rough times right now. You could tell us kind of what drove you out to this rally and what you see and the kind of people you saw and maybe the experience you had in the last couple hours.
Well, I was up on stage a couple times because I'm actually running for U.S. Senate against the incumbent Martin Heinrich. And so I'm a geek. Opened up computer stores in 1975 and 76, and I've been doing high tech. No political stuff, but when you're putting in computer systems into major corporations, it's all political. It's just corporate political. So I have a background there. And so I actually got started because an ex-employee said, hey, we have these 6 bad bills. And I said, tell me about it. And it was about abortion. It was about parental rights. It was about cross-gendering and everything else that was just horrible. So I read these bills and they almost made me nauseous. And so I created a website, NM Bad Bills, just to be helpful. And that all of a sudden took a life of its own. And so people started saying, you ought to run for a representative or Senate in New Mexico. And I've never been a person that does things halfway. So I said, go big or go home. So I thought, all right, be one of the 100 in America that can actually make some changes. So I'm going to run against a 10-year incumbent looking for his 3rd term. And I'm going to beat him like a drum.
I love it. Tell people where where did you grow up? Were you in New Mexico your whole life?
No, I originally a Detroiter. And then at 18, went into the Air Force during the Vietnam era, and then traveled all over the world doing tech stuff. And so I've had a great life. I'm 71, and my father had been kidnapped by the Germans when they invaded Poland, and they threw him on a work farm as a slave and liberated the big, strong German farmers, stuck them in the army. So my mother and grandparents had to run from Italy. So I'm firstborn in the U.S., and I feel like I really have to give back to this country because I wouldn't even be alive if it wasn't for all the brave Americans that crossed an ocean to save the Europeans, period. End of case. So when they said, hey, you're kind of good at all this, I laughed and said, well, I don't know. And then it was like, all right. So I listened to what the incumbent was talking about, and I thought, well, that's ridiculous. And I said, all right, let's get a different voice in there.
Well, you just were talking about some of the tyranny that happened in Nazi Germany that went on during the World War II era and some of the really atrocious things that happened in the 20th century. People have drawn parallels to what we've been seeing in the last 3 or 4 years and some scary maybe pathways the U.S. is on. Do you see the same thing, or do you think that's an overreach?
No, that's why I'm doing this, because I'm shocked that people are afraid to say the word communism. Okay, I say it all the time because that's what this is. If you actually look at the Communist Manifesto that got read into the congressional record in like 56 or 62 or something in that era, they had like 40 points of what they were going to do: take over the schools, take over. Break up the families, get rid of religion, all these things that have been happening. So this is absolutely a preordained attack on what the founding fathers really wanted to do. And so it's like, okay, no, I owe my life, and I am so going to stop this as much as I can.
He's going to stop it. He's going to stop it.
I love it.
So
you got a chance to stand up on that stage. You got a pretty good look at what that crowd looked like in all directions. What kind of numbers are you estimating, and how many people, what percentage were carrying weapons?
I would say there was a little over 400 coming in and out throughout the session. But of course, it was an impromptu thing. Our crazy governor just went ahead and announced this and even said in her interview, when a reporter said, what are you really expecting the criminals to stop carrying weapons? And she said, no. And it's like, why would you do this then? I'm actually carrying, and I would say that probably half, maybe 5/8, decided to say that they just aren't going to buy into it. I talked to two state police officers, and their complaint was this crazy rule forces them to face a $5,000 fine if they are, of course, by law, supposed to carry when they're off duty. But the law is written in a way that if they're carrying off duty, even though they're state police, they can be fined $5,000. It's insanity. Okay, so so the sheriffs and the police and the state police, they're just laughing at this blatant violation of the Second Amendment.
So New Mexico got rid of qualified immunity, which is obviously pretty dangerous for those in the law enforcement community dealing with a ruling like this. You've talked to two. Have you gotten the sense from other law enforcement that they're going to have any support for this decree?
Well, see, in New Mexico, there's New Mexico Citizens Bill of Rights, and there's an Article 4A in there. And Article 4A says if you are a legislator and you put anybody at risk, if you're a vendor that works for the state, if you are a county clerk or anybody that gets money from the state and you aggrieve citizens, they can come after you for compensation up to $2 million each. Okay, so even though qualified immunity is a problem, the Citizens Bill of Rights, Article 4A, is kind of the antidote for it, because my estimation is that she's going to be thrown out of office. She is so far over the line on this one, over the tips of her skis, and it doesn't matter if you're a conservative, ex-military, independent, libertarian, a conservative Democrat. If you're a far left progressive, which is only maybe 5 to 10% of the party, then okay, you're applauding what she did. But everybody else is like, are you insane? And so, and it was the craziest thing to try and use the unfortunate death of an 11-year-old as the mechanism to disarm the population. Phase 1 for 30 days, phase 2 for 6 months, phase 3, 10 years, and then forever. So the people of New Mexico are definitely not buying it.
So it seems like nationally, the DOJ may have overstepped by going after Trump with not 1, but 2 or 3, but 4 indictments, and it looks ridiculous. This has similar ridiculous nature. Do you think that she overstepped and she's lost ground on this move?
Oh, she is so upside down at this point, and there are people that have already filed suits to have her removed from office for treason. I mean, she went against the U.S. Constitution, Article 2. So it's like, what are you talking about? You can't do that. I mean, even a kid in junior high would know that you couldn't do that.
You would think. You would think.
Exactly.
Look into your crystal ball for us. What do you see in the next, let's say, 12 to 18 months in this country? Where are we moving? Where are we going with New Mexico being kind of leading the charge on this?
Well, if you go ahead and you look up the Dominion machine graphic of where the Dominion machines were used in the counties in America in 2022, you'll find something very interesting. What you'll find is that New Mexico has 33 counties, and every one of them is using a Dominion machine. Dominion machines are being decertified all over the country, but this Secretary of State is also out of control. You see, New Mexico is a trifecta state. So the Democrats own the governor, the Attorney General, the Secretary of State, 2 senators, U.S. senators, until I take one of them out, and then most of the county clerks and everything. So it is a dictatorship, and people are waking up to it. I think New Mexico is going to go solid red, and by a nice margin, because independents realize that this, when you have somebody that's so blatantly willing to go against the Constitution of the United States, it's very clear that they don't want any part of that kind of person. So if you take a look at the 2 senators, Ray Lujan and Martin Heinrich, they kept their mouth shut. They didn't say, hey, wait a minute, what are you talking about? You can't say that. when the governor said, "Well, the criminals aren't going to abide by this," when a reporter asked them, is like, "Wait a minute, are you like clinically off your rocker or something?" So, there's going to be a huge backlash. This stunt is going backward, and that's good for the country because New Mexico is the testing ground, the petri dish for America. It's not California, it's New Mexico, because with a supermajority that they have in the House and the Senate here, and the governor and the attorney general and corrupt judges and everything. So it's like, okay, they think they can do anything they want. And these bills that they passed prove it because they ignored 1,100,000 emails, texts, and letters. And because the referendum wants to put these 6 awful bills on the ballot for the citizens to vote. And she's doing all kinds of dirty tricks to block the citizens from being able to vote on the issues. And this is waking up the mama bears, the papa bears, the grandpa and grandma bears that care about their kids and want their parental rights and citizen rights and everything. So it's a huge overcalculation on their part.
I love that. I got two quick, easy questions for you. We're carrying with you in spirit here. We got Glock and Sig sitting on the desk. What are you open carrying today?
Well, I'm carrying a little Ruger because I love my Sig 226 and I didn't know what was going to happen down here.
That's a pretty reasonable thought. I can get behind that. And where can people follow and support your movement if they're looking to help you out?
Sure. So the website that I did that is helping the referendum effort is NM for New Mexico, badbills.com.
Okay.
I have the domain name nmsenator.com. And I'm going to be putting up another website where I'm taking all the data that I'm allowed to have as a candidate for U.S. Senate and running it through data analysis programs that myself and a good friend and partner on this, we're going to take the data, we're going to identify every bad county where there's funky addresses, too many people in one house, apartment buildings that are only 2 stories high, and there's addresses on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th floor. I mean, all of this, you can't believe how dirty these voter rolls are, and we're going to crush it next week. Yeah, for right now, NM Bad Bills is up. If you go on WinRed, you can look at Nevada, at New Mexico, I should say, and I'll be on there, Robert Kwasny, running for Senate. And so, we're going to take it to them now. It's long overdue. We're going to be nice about it, but we need to push a bunch of these people out of office.
Okay. Well, Robert, we wish you good luck on that. Thanks for spending some time with us, and I appreciate all that.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate it, man.